Gear up, because this is the Fuel Your Marketing podcast, designed to accelerate sales and grow your business. Let's welcome your host, Arti Sharma.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Fuel Your Marketing podcast. I'm Arti and I am super excited to be here because today I have a very special guest with us. And before I introduce you to her, I want to share that over a period of time, I've spoken to hundreds of businesses, and every business needs more sales, more revenue growth, and that's a big focus for most of them. And it is not something that's not achievable. We just need a strategic plan. And today, digital growth is definitely advising a lot of CEOs, a lot of marketers to go in the direction of digital marketing and inbound marketing. And I'm a big advocate of that. But one thing I've learned, and something that I have also mentioned in my opening episode, 9 years and 9 lessons, not mistakes, that there is also an integration needed with your traditional marketing in order to achieve the impact your digital marketing can have. And today, we definitely want to share some of those nuggets with you. And in this podcast, I will talk more about inbound and social selling aspect of it, but my guest is very talented. She is an amazing author. She's a referral coach, as I said, a published author, and trains and coaches business professionals, their sales teams on leveraging relationships into referrals, which result in amazing revenue streams and very comfortable lifestyles. Isn't it great? So with her being the North America's leading expert on referral marketing and strategic networking, it'll be an understatement to say that she is the queen of referral marketing. She's our very local representative out of Canada, and I am very thrilled, and it's an honor and a privilege to introduce you to Paula Hope. Paula, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Arti, and it's a privilege knowing you as well.
Oh, thank you very much. And I know that I cannot wait to get my hands on your book, Stop the Saboteurs, Conquer Negative Thoughts and Hurt Your Revenue and Your Brand. So here we go. If you are listening to this, you definitely need that book. But before we go anywhere into this podcast episode, I want to share with our audience today, Paula, that we are going to be talking about how social referral marketing is so critical and why keep the conversation going. And that's the title of our broadcast as well. So social referral marketing, why keep the conversation going? So tell me, Paula, because every business needs the sales growth, as I mentioned just now. What are your thoughts on how companies can look at their social currency in today's space? And what really is social currency? I know that you talk about this term very often.
No, or social currency or social capital is the goodwill that the individuals within the company have created with their clients. When we talk about referral marketing, we're talking about the person and developing trust between individuals. And so the social capital is the goodwill that, some of the major companies have created by giving and sharing and taking a posture of helping their clients and not just creating a transactional relationship, creating relational relationships. So social currency or social capital is the goodwill that a company or an individual creates.
Wow, that's amazing. And you know what, I've attended conferences where people say you do business with people you know, like, and trust. And that's a big factor in developing your social currency, if you will, right? I mean, and I think I come from a traditional marketing background who turned into a digital marketer over a period of time as the marketing landscape evolved. And I know that working with sales teams 20 years ago, networking used to be one marketing tactic that many people would say would be the only, effective marketing strategy for them to build relationships or involve their sales teams and grow their business. Do you see that social currency is a concept that has emerged from there, and then from that area of networking, it has now gone more online as well. So kind of there's a segue that
Mhm.
happened over the years. Do you want to comment on where networking is today?
Uh, yes, well, certainly the concept of social capital and developing business through developing relationships goes back to cavemen, where from the beginning of time it was the first method of growing business. Relationships are classical. It doesn't change whether we're online or the presence of the internet and all the wonderful things that are available to us.
Hmm.
We still start with a relationship.
Hmm.
So the change in, I would say that actually social media, online marketing actually enhances referral
Hmm.
marketing and brings a lot of very positive elements. For example, the whole idea of telling and selling or
Mm.
shouting to your market is just not acceptable anymore. And I
Oh
love
yeah.
the fact that online marketing has created that line. Plus, the importance of stories. I don't think there's ever been the kind of emphasis on the importance of stories since online marketing tools have taken that and created that as the standard. So I'm very excited about what goes on with online marketing, strategic online marketing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a plan without strategy would fail for sure. And
Mm.
similarly, I want to go back to the networking element of that. I know that you talk about the four phases in your trainings and your certifications. I also know that networking is a very effective tool if done strategically. So, in your mind, should networking be done to sell or to tell or to build relationships? Because there's a bit of a confusion around networking. I go to a lot of networking events and I see people handing out their business cards, right? And I'm like, why are you here?
Yes, it goes right into that category of telling,
Yes.
really, and there isn't any sharing, is there, when someone comes up to you and throws their business card at you, and there's a confusion. It's the reason I wrote my book, Stop the Saboteurs, Conquer Negative Thoughts That Hurt Your Revenue, Your Brand, because there are a lot of assumptions or thoughts or negative thoughts that create inappropriate activity that does not serve the networker. So just to sort of short circuit that, I have a grid that I developed where I developed networking as sowing seeds. So you're
Mm-hmm.
going there to create relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then the middle part of my grid it refers to referral building or creating a garden of people. And that's where you really develop your social capital. And
Mm-hmm.
then the third stage is the selling stage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you kind of harvest everything that if you think of your social capital as a
Mm-hmm.
plant that you've developed. So you get to harvest everything through selling. So when you're networking, you're only at the beginning of the cycle, and
Mm-hmm.
you're there to create relationships. And unfortunately, those people that just don't know any better, with handing out cards and without creating a relationship first,
Mm-hmm.
they're moving to the third stage. So if you can imagine what the equivalent is from a dating perspective. So there's,
Mm-hmm.
let's have coffee first, and instead of people, we can just guess at what the people giving out cards and what stage they're putting themselves at when they do that.
Hmm. Well, it's funny that you bring this up because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, a lot of networkers go out to sell directly to the person they're meeting, and they tend to forget the power of creating and the power of that garden and the harvest to tap into other people's network. And
Right.
I think I relate to it more so because in social media also, when we talk about social community management or social posts and social media marketing, at the end of the day, you are there, if you're there just to tell about you and no relationship happens, then people tune out. And that negative connotation that what kind of conversations you're having on social media also turns people
Mm-hmm.
off to not engage with you. And that's when you come across as that, traditional networker who's handing off the business cards, right? You're just pushing out your content. You're not concerned about what other person who's seeing your post is achieving from it, and what kind of value are you creating for them, right? At the end of the day, the concepts of online social networking or the traditional networking aren't different. It's just that we tend to forget the premise of networking to begin with, and then we also tend to sometimes forget how is this going to impact your relationship building. And that brings me to our next area that I really want us to bring to our audience today is what kind of conversations should you have, and what are the steps that you should take to build that relationship. You talked about those 4 phases of sowing the seeds, gardening, harvesting, and then going to the last stage. What do you think, where do people in your experience really, I would say, don't do a really good job, first of all? And what can you give them tips on how to do it better?
Oh my. Well, so I talked about the three stages of moving from networking, referral building, and then sales strategy. And I also have developed a grid called the 4 phases of a successful networker for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
But just to go back to, so, and those are available to anyone who wants to send me an email. And I know, Artie, you'll share that at the end, but I don't want to refer to something and so everyone can have a look at that, and they'll also be on my website. To your question about what would be some of the biggest mistakes, and I'm coming from a place of understanding that I think a lot of people are very nervous when they go to networking events.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it would help them if we remind them that they're going to the networking event to create new relationships, as we said, but new strategic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's not often that they're going to actually meet their prospect at a networking event.
Mm-hmm.
If they're lucky, they will, but generally speaking, they won't. They will have the opportunity to meet referral sources who can then lead them to the people that they really want to talk to, who can lead them to their prospects.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that would help. So it's developing strategic relationships, so then you can be helping one another mutually to grow your business. I mean, that's ultimately, and I'll mention that in the phases.
Right.
So I think if that helps, I hope that might be something people would want to put in their back pocket. And there are a lot of assumptions about networking. There's one book called the Truth or Delusion, and it's about 49 myths about networking.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So written by Dr. Ivan Meisner, and the founder of BNI.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Along with a few colleagues from the Referral Institute, which is where I came from.
Very nice.
So another assumption that I'll just plant, and then we'll go into the 4 phases, is to make it clear that networking is, first of all, it is a 24/7 enterprise. It doesn't just happen when you go to networking events.
Mm-hmm.
Networking happens all day. I live in a small town, and I run into people in our local food land, and we share a lot of things about the local politics. Well, that's, we're building relationships when we get together. When we talk about strategic networking, it really starts not with the networking event so much as when you meet a new member of your network at the networking event. The most important step is to select the person that you're then going to have a one-on-one with.
Right.
So networking is really about creating referrals. So networking is really merely a means to an end.
So what I'm hearing here is that, yeah, you rightly said, networking is a first step. But I think what I heard over what you shared with us is that, first of all, as a business owner, as a salesperson, or as an entrepreneur, we need to change our mindset towards networking. It's not a place to sell. It is actually a place to find referral partners and getting serious about those referral partners, and then taking that conversation one step ahead by intimately knowing who your referral partner is, for the lack of better word, by understanding their goals and objectives and creating value to them. and then
Mm.
seeking and taking it to the next level of saying, okay, if there's an alignment there, that's when you can look at following up for the next phases. And I find as an entrepreneur myself, I think I use networking as a first step, as you rightly said. It is the stepping stone to build that long lasting relationship, but also creating value for the other person.
Absolutely. And another point, and then we'll get into the phases, another point about networking, when you are at a networking event, you have the opportunity to connect valued members of your network with one another.
What a
And
huge value that you're creating, right?
yeah, yes, absolutely. And then you get to really live in a world where you're creating business relationships that are both for your pocketbook and soul. So people that you really enjoy helping and supporting.
And I
So that
want
when you're at a network,
sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. I just want to finish that another quote about networking is it's not network, it's not net sit, it's not net eat, it's network. So when you're at a networking event, you are busily connecting members of your network as well. So it's well past throwing out cards, moving on to creating new relationships, and also creating new relationships for members of your network.
And that's the beauty of growing through referrals. So I want to kind of just chime in on the social media side. If we take the same experience to the social networking sites that we are on, and kind of digital is evolving, as I say, people are becoming more socially active. At the end of the day, when we are liking somebody's post or giving them shout outs or mentioning them on a post, we're trying to create, in a way, that network, that online community of our preferred referral partners, if you will. But that, I don't think social networking is the place to start where you get meaningful referral partners, but that could definitely be a well supported platform in this entire relationship to referral partner journey. What do you think?
Absolutely, I totally agree. So I think to not be active online and not have a strategy online is leaving a lot of social capital and a lot of money and opportunity on the table. You invited me to talk about what's different about networking now, and online really speeds up the ability to connect. So if you've met a person at a networking event, then you can follow up immediately with LinkedIn, a LinkedIn invitation. You can learn about one another immediately in an in-depth way. You can bring them into your newsletter with their permission.
Right.
So already in that early stage, when you are in the networking stage and you're creating your relationship, online provides you with all of these wonderful tools that allow you to advance your relationships. It's wonderful. And at each stage of the relationship, online continues to support the ability to help your referral sources and referral partners, whether it's sharing case studies or white papers, or, as you said, the sharing all sorts of information, or liking, all of those.
So trying to kind of build that
deepening
relationship. Yeah.
Yes, they're
Perfect.
wonderful tools.
Yeah.
Yes, they're
So,
wonderful,
so I
wonderful
just
tools
want
for
to, for
that.
our listeners who are viewing in and listening in now, that it's about time we kind of integrate the two channels. And I don't want to take away from that, and I won't stay on this for long, because I think it's given that we're integrating, but has to be strategic. Your approach to online networking and off traditional networking, I would say, has to be aligned and has to be integrated for a greater impact. Paula, I know that you talked to me about those 4 phases, and I don't want to, hold you up from sharing with our listeners about the 4 phases that allow people to go from relationships to creating a very lucrative referral base. What are those 4 steps?
So the first phase, if you imagine your network is like a night sky, and every once in a while there's a shooting star, and but there's no real order in your network at all. You don't know why referrals happen. There's no plan or program. You just kind of go to networking events and hang out with your friends, and there's no intention. There's no direction. So that's really where 98% of, of
Mm-hmm.
networkers are. They're not even aware of the fact that by creating a network for the long term, that they really can be securing their business and their lifestyle for a long, long time. So
Right.
that's phase one. That's they don't know what they don't know phase,
Mhm.
and that tends to be status quo for a lot of networkers.
Right.
Phase two is when you become awakened, where you become aware of the opportunity with referral marketing. You realize that the closing rate of an average referral is 34%, that it's higher than any other method that you can think of
Mm-hmm.
from a closing rate perspective. And of course, using online, you can make it happen at an even a higher rate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but basically, phase two is where you learn more about referral marketing. You create a compelling message, a very succinct, compelling message that
Mm-hmm.
your network can comfortably share.
Mm-hmm.
You get a targeted picture of your target market. You really describe very precisely the person that you want to meet, even to the point where you have a picture of a sample member of your network.
Wow.
Of your target market, excuse me. Then you develop your referral marketing mindset, which is about growing and giving. The referrals that you create should equal to the referrals that you receive. So you
Mm-hmm.
start to become very, very aware of the power of referrals, and you also follow up on a referral before you would follow up on anything else. So getting serious about referrals is what phase two is about. You also are you focus on selected networks,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a plan, and that does include on and offline
Mm-hmm.
strategies for growing your business. So this is where you absolutely are using your LinkedIn and your website and sharing and liking and doing all those things that you would have been doing all this time, but you would be doing it more intentionally with these new members of your network who have an understanding of referral marketing and who you want to continue to grow your relationship with.
Right. And I think from a marketing, from an online standpoint, I totally see how you've just shared with us through the traditional aspects of how you need to educate your
Mm-hmm.
referral network on who you want to target, have that clarity so that your referral network can start looking within their connections and find people who they can refer you to. And now imagine the same concept with your website, that you want to educate your web visitors as to who you really service, and if they are one of those people, do they relate to your site and the content of the site, the images on the site,
Yes.
from a
Yes.
persona development standpoint. Like, that's what my company does, work with clients on the persona development as to who your online target audience is, so that when they come to your site, your website can actually serve as a salesperson, or if you will, referral partner, to get them to take action and request either a consultation, buy your product, get more engaged with your services, or get on your list, whatever the call to action may be. So there's definitely a lot of synergy here from taking those traditional aspects of networking, referral marketing, growing our business through our network. It is the concept that has evolved into social selling now, and I know that you talked about it in various events that I have attended. Social selling is one of those components of the overall sales life cycle where social media comes into play, and at the same
Mm-hmm.
time creating that synchronized experience for people who know you at a networking event and take that same experience online is a key to bringing that synergy and being more memorable, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
that clarity of message and getting so you use the term persona or ideal client. Same, absolutely. The more precisely you reach out to the people you really want to do business with, you are educating your network.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and specifically giving them direction about the kind of people you would like to meet.
Absolutely. And I think
So,
there is a synergy there, right?
there is so much synergy. There's so many tools that online, and it's still exploding. And of course, with people like you and I having these conversations already, we are, one on one is free. We're
Yes.
creating free with this
Right.
discussion.
So you talked about the one-on-one, right? And I want to kind of leave
Yes.
our audience with that one-on-one because I've been one of the members, as I mentioned, for BNI for several years, and I understand the
Mm-hmm.
importance of having those one-on-one meetings. And I did mention knowing about that individual that you met at networking and their goals. Are there any specific um, questions one should ask in your experience to understand and build that relationship so as to either qualify if that's a good referral partnership, because not every partnership is
Yes.
a good partnership. And then,
Mm-hmm.
second, to make sure what kind of questions should you ask to evaluate that?
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a lot, and of course, we have a metaphor. It takes 37 conversations to build a referral partner.
Wonderful.
So it starts with understanding. First of all, it starts with knowing, liking, and trust someone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't invest in anyone unless you feel that way about them. So I know that a lot of my clients in the past feel so liberated knowing, well, if you've met somebody at a networking event and you just don't have a good feeling about them, don't expect yourself to have a relationship with them. You don't have a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with everybody. So there's, first of all, your willingness to want to work with that person. The second question is to find out who they want to serve, who is their target market or their
Mm-hmm.
persona. And what you want to do is look for a member of your network that you know, like, and trust, and who shares the same target market as you.
Yeah,
Because that
that's a good
allows
one.
you to get into phase 3 and phase 4,
Mm-hmm.
where you start to be able to have a group of um, 8 to 12 people
Mm-hmm.
who you know, like, and trust, and who do share the same target market. And you can be building programs and doing educating and exactly the kind of thing that we're doing.
Right, exactly. And you know what? We in my program Fuel Your Marketing, and in my workshops, I talk about the concept of OPC, which is other people's connections,
Mm-hmm.
plus another OPC, which is other people's content, can lead to brand visibility. So we talk about tapping into other people's network and sharing their content currency, if you will, to your network. And this is exactly what we're going to be doing with this podcast. We're going to be taking this podcast,
That's
posting
right.
on our websites, so that's
Mm-hmm.
how you build that partnership, that referral network. At the same time, you create value for your referral network also by giving them the opportunity to be introduced to your network in a more structured manner, right? So I think this is a good example, and thank you so much for bringing this up. So we're at the end of our kind of conversation. Was there anything
Mm-hmm.
else that you would like to leave our audience with, which is going to create an impact for them in their business, their referrals, and their sales?
The one thing I would add, well, first of all, thank you, Artie, and I think integrating the channels is just such a wonderful enterprise, and it's so important to be doing that right now. So you've already been helping your tribe with encouraging the working, you and I working together. The one message I would leave is to everyone is to give.
Mm-hmm.
A referral is basically a transfer of trust.
Mm-hmm.
So by giving and sharing and investing in other people, they're going to give and share and invest back to you. So look for givers in your network and look to present yourself as a giver, because people who are trained in referral marketing are looking for people like you. So that would
Absolutely.
be my advice. Yeah.
That's a
Give
that's a
with.
hard, golden nugget there, right there.
No, well, my pleasure.
And I want to kind of bring attention to the concept of giver's gain that BNI Dr.
Mhm.
Ivan Meisner started with, and givers do gain. And I am a good example of that. I always would recommend anybody in any stage of businesses to explore BNI or any other local networking to their to grow their business. If you can make it, then have one of your sales team, but make sure that the salesperson is not just a taker. They're also coming from a giving mentality, right? And giving heart. So thank you very much, Paula. And I really appreciate you sharing that it is one of the subjects that we tend to miss as we are looking at putting our marketing plans together. So it's not too late if we're only, it never is too late to start looking at networking, referral partnerships as the fastest, easiest, and most reliable system for getting more clients and getting more clients than you can handle. Even if you hate marketing, if you hate selling, this could be one way of building your business. So don't give up on this source. And you know what, Paula, the system you shared with us has worked, and I'm sure you see this working really well for your clients also. So at this show, there will be listeners listening around the globe. And what I would leave our audience would be is that you can hire Paula for a speaking engagement at your conference. You can have Paula come in and coach your sales team and your teams. At the same time, the direct and the easiest way to get Paula to even share your system, even a free consultation, would be to reach her out via an email, which is at paula@bookedsolid.ca. Paula, did I say that right?
You sure did. You did a beautiful job, Artie. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you so much for listening to us. If you're tuning in at a given date time, wishing you the best of your day, your evening. And I look forward to having you at our next show, which is going to be all about how do you take your content to the next level on a dime. How do you take your content to the next level on a dime? And I'm looking forward to having you at the next episode. Thank you very much for listening in. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Fuel Your Marketing podcast. For more episodes, visit www.fuelyourmarketing.ca.